What it mean to be the best? Riding foes, feeling unimpressed. Make me reminisce, throwing bows, bend the corner, set my mind up on the goal. All I know is stay down, bad, I'm the goal. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now there ain't no debate. Yeah. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now there ain't no debate. Yeah. I ain't gotta say much. Know the boy got a touch. Another win for the rush. Another win for the rush. See me once and got a crush. See you twice and that's enough. Get the ring sized up.
Welcome in. Tell the Truth, episode 51. We are back. The Chiefs have stayed undefeated once again, and I don't have to keep changing the first title on the banner because it continues to say the same three things. Chiefs stay undefeated. I have not had to change it in a bunch of weeks, I promise you. Right. Yours truly, DMac is here. DG and CJ, we are here not only to review what was an absolutely wild division game. It started off slow and sleepy as probably it was anticipated to be versus the Broncos and a noon kickoff as well. And it ended with something that was completely unexpected, but at the same time, kind of expected in a blocked field goal. DG, CJ, how you guys feeling tonight, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Trying to watch these NBA players, not cash me out tonight.
We trying to get this cash. You did. You feel me?
Yeah, not doing good.
we in the process of trying to get this cash. But no, man,
my Nets keep winning games that we're not supposed to, so I'll wear that tonight.
Darn.
I know, really. We really are now. The Giannis, that's a different conversation. So yes, obviously the Chiefs end up getting, which was a 16-14 win. Weird game. Offense really couldn't run the ball effectively. Missed some plays as far as the passing game was concerned. Took it to the second half. They trailed for most of this game. I believe they took their first lead within 8 or 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And the defense, I think, was largely fine, but struggled a little bit. We're going to spend the majority of this podcast kind of talking about the huge game that the Chiefs have coming up against the Bills, because I think that's a little bit worth that conversation as well. But just to start out, kind of as far as what was the craziest play of the game? Leo Chenal, a massive block of a field goal that's 35 yards. I looked at the stat that came across, was floating around Twitter was that of all the, potential game-winning field goals that was blocked within the last 5 seconds of overtime or of the fourth quarter of overtime, that was by far the shortest. It's a testament to the level of detail that Dave Tobe and that special teams unit brought to the table. They knew that Alex Forsythe, who was on the left-hand side of the Denver Broncos field goal block team, continued to fall down in recent weeks versus other teams. They did it to him early on in the game on a point after attempt as well, and they attacked him. It was him, Charles Omenihu, Cole Christensen, Mike and Charles Omenihu, Mike Dana, George Karlaftis, and of course Leo Chenal, who were able to bowl over that left side. And Leo ended up getting one of his big paws on it. You got to give him a lot of credit, and he took a lot of pride in that as well. They talked about kind of him and the get off that him and Justin Reed go back and forth as far as the competition is concerned. But it simply just comes down to all three phases needing to win and to get the job done. This is a day that, I don't think that obviously Harrison Butker had the huge mistake on the kickoff preceding that final drive. Matt Ariza didn't do the best of jobs, I think, in taking advantage of what could have been putting the Broncos in some shorter fields as well with his punting game, even though he's been very good all season. Ultimately, though, special teams showed up for the play that it needed to keep the Chiefs undefeated. So, first, what was your initial reaction to the kick getting blocked? And then also your general thoughts on what led up to it, obviously, which was trying to attack a Broncos weakness that many people hadn't necessarily seen.
I ain't gonna lie, I thought we lost.
I thought we lost, too. I definitely thought we lost. I for sure thought we lost.
Hey, man, it was what, 8-1. I was cool. I was like, all right, we lose this one. It's division game, it is what it is. We move on to next week. Got the Bills in Buffalo. So, I was prepared to come over here and be like, yeah, we didn't play well and this and that. And then they blocked the field goal. And next thing I know, I'm running around my house screaming.
Yeah, like everybody else. Boy. All the reaction videos were hilarious.
Yeah, hilarious, man. Yeah, man. Sunday to me, in my definition, is the reason why the Chiefs go to St. Joe. That time I think allows them to work on the minor details that a lot of, and I won't say everything, but a lot of teams fail to sometimes, key in on and work on. You see them do that at training camp. You see them train, work on that type of stuff up there or whatever. And I know a lot of it seems boring, and but those things are the reason why you end up being 9-0. The reason why you win games like this. A lot of people question how the Chiefs keep doing this or whatever. I'm literally telling you, if you're not a Chiefs fan, just go to St. Joe's one year and see how hard this team really works during that summer period up there to get ready for these games. But it's one of those things where if you're playing us and you want to beat us, man, you got to play us to the last play. That's the way we're going down at this point. Wasn't pretty. Really think this probably was out of the last three one of Pat's worst games or whatever. The offensive line was trash on both sides of the tackle play. Jawan Taylor had probably one of his worst games of the season. Then losing Wanye in the middle of the game, and then having to put in Kingsley at the same time, and still seeing some of the confidence issues that he's having at this point, kind of just not knowing where to be, not necessarily knowing playbook, just making rookie mistakes out there. Out of rhythm offensively, yeah, man, it was sloppy all around. Couldn't run the ball. And somehow, some way, they figure out a way to win the game still. So it speaks to how hard they work, man, during the summer months, getting prepared for the season, and it's the reason why they're a championship team.
Oh, facts. Everything we asked them to do, as far as like paying attention to the details, all those things matter. Like DG said, it's those little things, staying late after practice, coming in early, film study, film tape, watching little things all weekend. It's really, and it's funny because as a special teams coach, or really more importantly, a position coach, your job is to find weaknesses and find tendencies other teams do and try to find a way to exploit them. This was clear as hell. It wasn't just our game that guard for the Broncos was getting bulldozed. He did that for a lot of games and for multiple weeks. I went back and watched a lot of the games. This wasn't just our game he was doing that. I think they had 4 kicks, and he got knocked over a couple of times before we finally got the block on the last play. So he's exploited a lot. I'm surprised he's still on the kicking team because I know if we saw it, I know they saw it. This is week 10. He's still on there, so that's shocking. I guarantee you he won't be on there next week. So I feel sorry for him. He's definitely not going to have a job anymore. But no, overall, as a team, your job is to pick your other guys up when you're not playing well. And this team has embodied that for the last 2 years, like DG said. We've done everything as far as carry this offense for this franchise for the last couple of years, and it's been in reverse like that for the previous 4 to 5 seasons. The offense has done all the heavy lifting. So it's I kind of said this last year in some of our shows. It's kind of like poetic justice that the defense is doing their heavy lifting now, because it wasn't too long ago, 2018, 2019, we were yelling at Bob Sutton on every Sunday, yelling at our TVs or in the stands about why we blitzing so much, why we playing so much man, we can't get pressure. Well, we were getting sacked, we just wouldn't get off the field and things of that sort. And Eric Berry was day-to-day. We remember those days. That was not too far long ago. So for us to be where we're at now and have the best defense in football, offense is shaky at times, but you never really doubt yourself when you have 15 on the field because you know they could turn it on like the way they did last year. They're just the definition of a true team. Like they win in all phases. We won games because of our offense this year. We won games because of our defense. Now we won a game because of our special teams. If you want to do something special, like go three-peat and try to make history and do something that's never been done before, you have to do something like this. So it's the definition of having all 3 phases on your team for sure.
Yeah.
Coach, players make plays. Coaches have to get players ready. The coaching won you that game on Sunday. And I know people will probably look at that and say, well, Andy Reid didn't call this. Dave Tobe having his guys ready. Steve Spagnuolo having the belief in his guys as well to get a stop. That was said in the press conference by Leo that Leo basically said Spags told him that they're going to get a stop. You know, coaching that on Sunday really won you that game because they had to prepare for that moment. Watching the film and really studying your opponent all the way down into the smallest minor detail. And that's why they win championships, man.
The little things matter.
The little things.
Absolutely. I mean, those are the things that separate yourself from the playoff teams in general, is being able to find those little advantages, and that's what they were able to do, obviously, on tape. And to your point, DG, when you go up to St. Joe, you see the level of attention to detail, whether it's a long drive drills that the offense does to prepare from a conditioning standpoint, which also gets the defense ready as well. The attention to detail that Joe Cullen and Dave Merritt bring to the table with their individual, position coaches to make sure that this defense is playing at a high level, even when the season starts. The ability really for the special teams that Dave Tope puts out there to continue to perform is one of the best units in the league, because they don't slack off there. They don't just throw anybody out there. They're very intentional about every single rep that they take there and who they put on that team to make sure that they're performing at a high level. And you could tell that in between the weeks, or I should say in between the games during the game week, the film that they're doing is top notch, because that's how you catch these things and be able to exploit them. And one of the other things was that the Lions had shifted versus the Broncos, not the Lions. I think it was Ravens. The Ravens had shifted in a previous game and on the right side of the line and got one of the guys to jump on the Broncos, field goal team. And we tried to do the same thing on that same play. So on that same play that ended up being the block, there were two separate film study type of, details that Dave Tope tried to implement, and one of them won in the game, and they tried to get either of them as an advantage. And that's just a testament to what this team is about, is finding those winning margins in those high leverage moments. And look, people will call it luck, call it dark magic, which I think is hilarious. It's not about that. It's about a level of preparation that we bring to the table that nobody else really is at this current moment in time, too, combined with what we do have talent-wise. So speaking more about, obviously, the offense, I think that the offense was subject to what was a very unique matchup in the Denver Broncos. A front seven that's playing extremely well, a front seven that's second in the league in sacks, a front seven that really got after what was obviously Kingsley coming in, and when he came in, replaced Wanya Morris. But also, I think the entirety of the line did not have its best game. There was some interior pressure. Mahomes, wasn't able to necessarily deal with it the best, but I still think that he was fine largely for the entirety of the game. And the Broncos on the back end, their ability to play in man coverage at an extremely high level. We saw the matchup of DeAndre Hopkins and Patrick Surtain, in which Hopkins got him a little bit, but Patrick Surtain still held his own. And the rest of the, wide receiver core for the rest of the Chiefs didn't really have a great day. Kelsey was still Kelsey, but ultimately being able to shut down the run game on early downs made it incredibly difficult for the Chiefs offense to put up a lot of points. All that being said, I think that certainly Mahomes with two throws did leave points on the board. The Xavier Worthy throw down the sideline, in which he burned Riley Moss, ended up going out of bounds when it should have been left in the field of play. And Xavier Worthy had a chance to convert that for 6. And also Kelsey was missed out of the back of the end zone on the goal line. And that was a drive in which we had to settle for 3. So all that being said, this still could have been a much better performance for the offense and Patrick Mahomes specifically. The question I'll ask, in addition to your overall thoughts as far as the offense is concerned, going into this Bills game, how is your level of confidence that this is a team that can put up, the requisite points that you think it's going to need, 28, 30, that you're going to have to probably play, as far as the Buffalo Bills, who are very potent offense on their side too?
I say it's probably like at an 8. I just think the Broncos game it's a nightmare matchup for you defensively and what they can do. They got an elite, probably best corner in the league in Patrick Surtain Jr., who can arguably take away your number one guy. And our number one guy right now is DeAndre Hopkins. At least, if not take him away, at least limit him to, limited plays or whatever. And then that front seven up front, I think, is one of the more underrated front sevens in the National Football League at this point in time. Not a lot of big names, but a lot of guys that just get after it. Nick Bonito was incredible again, I was thoroughly impressed with what he was able to do, as well as I think the guy that they just signed, Jonathan Cooper, I think his name is. They just gave an extension to.
Yeah.
Him as well. Tackle in the middle, 99. I forget what his name is too. John Franklin Myers. I mean, they got some guys up front that I think any team in the league for real. And if they're the 7th seed, they're gonna be a tough 7 seed to take out of the playoffs. They're gonna give whoever they play a tough game. You got your work cut out for you. I think Vez Joseph has got them clicking on all cylinders. But man, they were really just able to man us up, and we had just got guys on this team at this point in time that aren't the greatest at getting separation in man. So I don't think Buffalo presents that type of challenge for you, especially from the safety position as well too. I think that you can kind of take advantage of some stuff over the top if you're able to connect on some of those things that we've seen these last couple of weeks. Pat and Xavier haven't been able to be on that same page, but if they can be able to be on that same page, I think that there's a chance for some explosive plays against this Buffalo defense. But still, work cut out for you up front as far as that line. Gregory Rousseau has been playing tremendously well this year. They got a front seven as well that's going to really, give you some challenges up front. So our tackle play will have to be a lot better. Hopefully, we get back to being able to run the ball a little bit better and staying ahead of schedule. This offense this year is going to have to be that. They can't afford to be an offense that's in 3rd and longs all the time. They just can't overcome those types of things, especially when they don't have the personnel out there to do that. So if they stay ahead of schedule and they're able to protect Pat a little bit better from the tackle position, I think that they can go up there and hang up 24, 28 points on that Buffalo defense.
No, yeah, for sure. I think as far as like confidence on the offense right now, yeah, I say about it, like 7, 8, like DG said, and that's mainly because we've never had a problem moving the ball. Our biggest issue this year has been just finishing drives. Obviously, our red zone efficiency wasn't as good at the beginning of the year. Then we kind of cleaned that up a little bit by finishing drives with touchdowns. And as far as converting on 3rd down, we're the number 1 third down offense in the league. So that's why I'm not really too concerned about our offense because we move the ball and we convert. We just have our biggest thing has been turnovers. We'll be in the middle of a drive and a ball will bounce off the D lineman's hands or receiver will pop off their hands and it'll pop into the DB and they catch a pick. So as far as us moving the ball, our issue is not moving the ball. We possess the ball at the highest rate in the NFL right now. Obviously converting on 3rd down at the highest rate in the league as well. So our biggest thing is just not turning the ball over, and we didn't do that the last couple of weeks. Thankfully, we haven't really threw at least from an interception standpoint. Fumbles, we had one of those when Trav fumbled, but outside of that, we haven't really turned the ball over from an interception standpoint. And I know Pat's been working diligently to get that number down as much as possible. Now we want to see the sacks go away as well, but I think that number goes down when you start running the ball, like DG just said. And obviously, we've been giving Kareem Hunt. I think there's no running back has more carries than Kareem Hunt than Derrick Henry since he's gotten with the Chiefs. So they've been giving him the definition of a workload and a workhorse back type of touches. So that's why his touches have been so high. And I think the reason DG he didn't get as many touches last week, I think honestly they really wanted him to rest him a little bit because they know we're going to need him for Buffalo. This is a big week. We're going to have to run the football because we can't obviously let Josh Allen get on the field and do what he does. I know I was just on one of the podcasts earlier before I hopped on here with some of the Bills fans. I think they said Keon Coleman's out for sure, and Mark Cooper may or may not play. He's kind of up in the air.
Kincaid as well.
Dealing with
Kincaid,
an
we'll have
injury.
to see.
If 2 out of those 3 guys are out, that changes a lot of things for them. Shakir obviously is their target now, the guy that we're going to key in on, obviously. But if they lose Keon and Cooper or Keon and Kincaid, that's a big loss for them because obviously those are their 3 of their 4 top weapons right there, and they can run the football with James Cook and Ray Davis. But not having those receivers will be a major plus for us, given all the injuries we've dealt with at the corner position for us. So moving the ball is not a problem for us. We do that at a very high level. I think we just have to just finish drives and not turn the ball over. And obviously, Juju may play this week. I heard a nugget about that. He may end up being active, which would be a good thing for us. We can have somebody else that can beat zone, not just D-Hop as well. So running the football, giving Kareem Hunt his normal 20-plus carries will get us back on track. And obviously us finishing drives and more of like a heightened sense of urgency. I heard Pat talk on some of the shows on 96.5 coming home on the radio. I think he's more pissed about missing those throws than we are. Obviously, we all wanted him to hit Trav in the end zone to ice the game. We all wanted him to hit Xavier Worthy for the last 3 weeks to clear out those deep throws we wanted to see. Nobody wanted to hit those more than him. So I think we get a more focused and more dialed in Patrick Mahomes this week. I think he hits a lot of those big plays that he missed for sure.
Yeah, and look, I think we'll get into it a little bit more as far as what you expect from Mahomes versus that Bills defense as well. But I think that it does bode well. And from that standpoint, I'm actually a little bit more confident in what the offense can bring to the table than what the defense probably is going to end up bringing to the table versus the Bills. But as far as the game is concerned, I think that, again, you got to tip your cap a lot to what the Broncos present as unique challenge. Their ability to play man coverage on the back end, their ability for their front seven not only be incredibly stout versus the run, but also put pressure on the passer. And as far as the tackle position is concerned, I'll continue to say the same thing. Jawan Taylor's still performing like one of the best right tackles in the National Football League. Wanye Morris, as long as he's healthy, has been fine as far as that's concerned. If he's back out there, I don't have any concerns about that. Obviously, I will say that I was wrong about, saying that I think Kingsley, can play right now. He's just not at the level that he needs to be. And that's just a reality of the situation. Until that happens, he's a developmental still tackle type of prospect. So we'll see what, continues on. I did, mention, obviously, Nate Taylor talked about on Cody and Gold earlier today, was that Donovan Smith, if Wanye Morris's health becomes more of a concern, Donovan Smith is ready to be called back onto this team. And he said that he's ready in football shape as well. So that's something to monitor. But for right now, as long as Wanye Morris is fine, I don't think that there's anything that needs to change from that standpoint. Definitely don't want to put Joe Tooney at left tackle. I know that's been something that people have talked about. That's not anything that we want to do.
Break the glass scenario.
Break glass in case of emergency.
Yeah, that's like once. We did that one time, bro. One time.
I hope it's double pane glass in this current moment.
Bulletproof glass.
Oh yeah, don't do that. But yeah, I think you guys I think that people have to tip your cap to what you saw from the Broncos. But to your point, CJ, it's about finishing drives. If you finish those drives properly, the way that you had been finishing in previous weeks, I think since DeAndre Hopkins got signed, I think it was we were operating like 75% touchdown within the red zone. That's what you have to do. If you do those things, then you take care of the business and put up more points than 16, and you can move over from that standpoint too. As far as the defense is concerned, I think that it's still, you did enough. I think that Bo Nix had some success as well. Obviously, 14 points seems like a lowish number. Ball control thing kind of took away from that. I think ultimately, I still have some concerns as far as the secondary. Najee Johnson came back, helped a lot. I will certainly say that. This team did not generate enough pass rush with the front four. It just didn't. And Chris Jones was still having the impact of generating the attention that he always does. But I didn't necessarily love what was going on from that standpoint either. And we'll talk about some news as far as that front is concerned. We saw a little bit of Uche snaps, but still limited in that aspect. Didn't get a lot from George Karlaftis or Felix or Tershawn Wharton. But I will say those guys were solid against the run. They did enough from that aspect. And the defense only ultimately gives up 14 points, even though that last drive didn't look great. So just quick thoughts as far as the defensive performance moving forward and what you thought about the cornerback 2 situation with Najee being back in the fold.
From Najee's standpoint, obviously he was due to come back eventually. He left a couple weeks ago with a concussion. So obviously from a comfortability standpoint, I think Spags and more so Coach Merritt are comfortable with him being in the slot. I think the only guys that we really put in that position so far have been Trent if need be, even though Trent's played a lot more outside this year, given the fact he's CB1 this year compared to last year. They put Shamari down there as well at times, and you could tell just little nuances and things of that sort. And obviously Najee's still getting his feet underneath him and getting more acclimated back to playing full-time snaps coming off the knee injury. But yeah, from a DB standpoint, obviously we've had to play a lot more safeties. Obviously Justin Reed and Jaden Hicks are getting a lot more snaps. And we've always had a lot of safeties on the field, but even more so now, I think we've had a couple of 3 or even 4 safety looks that I've seen on the field just because of our depth and how we're trying our corner back depth right now and trying to get guys back healthy. So it's concerning, not as concerning, just because when I look at the numbers, no receiver really. And I know Cortland Sutton had a big touchdown catch, which Trent McDuff would be the first one to tap his head. Hey, I messed up. This next play, we move on mentality. But when you look at the numbers overall at the end of the game, he really didn't do much, especially. And then not trying to be funny, but when you look at MVS, who had 3 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, compared to what Cortland Sutton did, Cortland Sutton really didn't do much. He had a good day. Not trying to say he didn't do anything. He made some plays on Trent. Trent be the first one to say, yeah, he made some plays. But overall, when you look at the film, by the end of the game, they had 14 points. Cortland Sutton had one big catch. If Trent has better technique, gets his hands on him quicker, maybe he doesn't beat him over the top of that touchdown. So I am concerned from a pass rushing standpoint, probably more so than the DBs, because I expect the pass rush to be better to help out the DBs because they have more talent in that room than they do in the defensive back room at this point in time. So getting Charles Omenihu back would help. And obviously Mike Dana is still trying to adjust himself to his injury he's been dealing with as well. So we're blitzing a little bit more than I would like. But, I mean, I'm never going to be mad at a Spags dialed up blitz because we had, one sack this past week, and it was Najee Johnson. So that's a dial up from Spags. So 2.
Nick had one, too.
Oh, yeah, Nick had one late. So, yeah, not really as frustrated with the DBs because they're doing what they do. Like, there's not much talent back there in the cornerback room. Josh Williams had his struggles. Trent's played great ball for us this year outside of this. It's probably the worst game he played this year was versus Denver. So, outside of that, yeah, I'm probably more frustrated with the D-line group. I would like to see more pass rush. But hopefully, I'm not really going to judge them too much now than what we do with Charles Omenihu or judge them when the games start mattering more. It's kind of hard to expect guys to get revved up every week when you're playing in so many big games. So, yeah, I think I'll probably be more concerned about the D-line more so than the DBs for sure at this point in time.
Yeah, this defensive line has to be better. As I know, there's much frustration is going around with the the cornerback 2 position and things of that nature, and seeing Jalen Watson go down and how well he was playing. This defensive line has been rarely lackluster, especially these last couple weeks. Not seeing seeing pressure at points in times, but just not getting home in time enough. I've seen Chris take a couple snaps, especially from the end position, and be able to kind of move the pocket, get there, but just not able to finish at points in time. So I think that if they can get kind of hot here later on, as we all know, we've seen this league sacks come in bunches or whatever. Once you start kind of getting hot, they can kind of rev that up. I think it would help out this secondary a lot more. From the defensive back standpoint, I mean, Trey McDuffie, it is what it is. Like sometimes you're gonna go out there, yeah, you're just gonna have a bad day at the office. I wasn't too upset with him. I still thought he played, serviceably well. Is what you tend to give up a big play, especially to a bigger receiver. As we all know, Cortland Sutton's a lot bigger physical receiver, so that's kind of a tougher matchup for Trey at this point in his career. But I think he did what he necessarily could. Limit to explosive play. I think that's the one explosive play that they probably had.
Yeah.
All in all, I don't think the defense played bad at all. You held them to 14 points. Got off the field when you needed to get off the field. Spags called some timely blitzes when they needed them. The Najee Johnson play was really nice. Nick Bolton able to get you off the field, blitzing right up the gap. So nice timely call blitzes by Spags. I did like to see the fact that Jaden Hicks did get a little bit more snaps. Especially I think early on when Spags kind of started noticing that their tight ends were having a little bit of success against Justin Reed and those linebackers. I think Drew Tranquil, this might have been one of his worst games too. Just lack of communication in the back end. I think him and Nazi ran into each other on kind of a crosser and kind of didn't know whose assignment was to pass off or something, some kind of miscommunication that they had. And then in the goal line area, him and Nick, I think, had a little bit of miscommunication as well. He kind of took the the running back out in the flat. They just left the tight end kind of over the middle. So I do think the linebackers kind of have to step up too and play a little bit better in coverage. I know it's not their strength or anything like that, but do have to get that kind of squared away, and I expect them to be able to do that and get that communication squared out. But all in all, man, I can't complain too much about the defense. They did what they needed to do. Offense has to sustain better drives, kind of give those guys a little bit less time on the field, give them some rest. So it works hand in hand. So as much as people probably are complaining about the defense, I think you got to kind of credit a little bit to the offense not being able to sustain some drives sometimes too.
Yeah, I mean, it is to me. It felt like a performance that was probably a lot worse than the points would necessarily suggest. It just,
Sound worse than
I
it looked
agree
for
with
sure.
your standpoint of getting everybody ramped up, though. You know, again, noon game, short week.
Yeah.
Even though it's obviously a divisional game, it's still one of those things where it kind of felt sleepy. So getting the front seven revved up to that level maybe didn't necessarily happen. I agree. Trey McDuffie he's playing the cover zero look that they weren't able to get home on, so he's kind of caught looking in the backfield. And Sutton is able to kind of run right past him. It's also one of those things where Sutton is the type of wide receiver in which you normally would say, "Hey, Jalen Watson, you're going to go press him for the entirety of the game. We're going to use McDuffie more as a chess piece." For this matchup specifically, that's one of those things when Watson's out, you don't necessarily trust Nazi or Williams to necessarily do as well. So it's a little different, not having Watson out there to help out. So it's one of those things where the defense had some concerns for me. I think the performance was better than the point differential will ultimately say, but end of the day, you hold them to 14 points and you get out of there with a win. That's what all is ultimately going to matter when you get to the end of the season anyway. So I think there are more concerns as far as what we look forward into this matchup coming into Week 11, in which the Chiefs are going to be headed towards Buffalo, Orchard Park, to face, which is a very familiar foe to them as well. Not just in the regular season, but also the playoffs too. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, who've been playing extremely well throughout the season, had a little bit of a tough game versus the Dolphins, probably than they would have wanted to. But again, also a divisional game. They did handle business last week against the Colts. Specifically, as far as the Chiefs offense, when it plays this Bills defense, different challenge than what the Broncos defense brings to the table. Front seven, not as potent. They're still waiting to get Matt Milano back. They did open the window, but they don't necessarily expect him to play. Ron Johnson's playing extremely well for them on the back end. Not the level of corner that Patrick Surtain II is. In general, they do not play nearly as much man coverage. The Broncos, I think, are up around 37% as far as the entirety of the season. They're somewhere around 16%. So you're going to expect a little bit of zone coverage, which this Chiefs offense is a lot better equipped because of DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce right now to beat. And if you add back in Juju Smith-Schuster, certainly that would help a lot as well. I do expect them to have better success on the ground. I think that this is a game in which the Chiefs offense is going to need to put up points because I think the Bills have some specific mismatches for the Chiefs defense on the other side of the ball as well. So I'm looking for, hopefully we can get one of those shots down the field to Xavier Worthy to kind of convert. And if Patrick Mahomes rises to the occasion, which we've seen a lot, especially when the talk gets loud, I think it kind of happened early in the season as well, that he turned his level of play around and turned it up a few notches. I think this will be one of those games in which he rises to the occasion. Prime time, not prime time, but everybody's going to be watching that late afternoon game. It's on CBS for a reason. Mahomes versus Josh Allen. So I think this is going to be one of Patrick Mahomes' best games of the season, specifically from that standpoint too. DG and CJ, what are you guys watching for when the Chiefs have the football versus the Buffalo Bills?
Probably be how well do we give help to Wanye's side? Obviously, this D line that we're going to see this week is not the level of Denver that the DG alluded to earlier when he was making his point. So Denver's a better defense than Buffalo right now, but obviously their offense is more explosive. So when we have the ball, I'm going to just play key on how many touches we're giving Kareem Hunt. Because naturally, we all said coming into the Denver game, I had a feeling he wasn't going to get as many touches because, like we said, he was getting 20-plus every week for like 5 weeks straight. So eventually he was going to slow down. And I think they kind of lightened his load, given the fact we're going to need him a lot more this week because we know Pacheco's not going to play more or he's not going to be back this week. So I'm going to be key to see how many touches we give Kareem Hunt because when we're on the field and we run the clock out and we finish our drives efficiently, we can keep Josh Allen off the field, which means he'll get more frustrated. He's been more prone to turning the ball over the last couple of weeks. We've kept our interceptions down. I think that's trending well in the right direction for us. So, yeah, that's the biggest key for me because I know D-Hop's going to get open. I'm not worried about him. I know Kelsey's going to get open. If Juju is active this week, I think that's going to help us out tremendously. That's going to take pressure off of those two guys as well and Xavier Worthy. And I know eventually that connection that we saw versus the Chargers when they hit that deep bomb, we're going to see another one of those eventually. It's coming soon. It's just little fine-tuned things that Pat just has to make the throw. But On offense, I just want to see us get back to running the football, giving Kareem Hunt his 20-plus touches. Obviously, we're going to give help to Wanye side, but at the same time, this is the same D-line that we've seen in weeks past. Matt Milano's still not active for them. I hope they do let Von Miller play because he's a shell of himself. We all know that. So, from a defensive standpoint, they really don't have nobody that really fears me. Like, their defense kind of got dismantled from the last years that we've seen them. I know they got Bernard out there, and I know Teron Johnson is a ball hawk. He can make plays in the slot. So I know he's going to be matched up with a lot of guys as well. But for overall, and from all the Bills defenses we've seen in the past, this one doesn't have too many big-time playmakers. They have a solid group. They play as a unit. But overall, they haven't really done anything to really concern me overall. So the biggest thing for me is just running the football. We run the football. We can control the clock. We control the tempo. And we can go out there and beat anybody that we see. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they definitely got to get back to being able to control the clock, run the ball when they need to, stay ahead of the chains, like I said earlier. I think that's when they're at their best, when they can stay ahead and stay in third and manageables. I think that's when they're able to operate the best. Like I said, I don't think this Buffalo defense. I'm not saying that they're not a good defense, but I think that that Broncos defense matches up a lot better against you. What they can be able to do from a coverage aspect, especially a defensive line aspect as well too. So I think that the Chiefs will have their chances. I think the main thing for them is just going up there and playing clean football on the offensive end. No turnovers. If they can continue to keep that crowd kind of out of the game, I think that they'll be able to move the ball pretty well. I think that this could be another week where Travis Kelce has another big game. I don't really think they have anybody that can really guard him at this point in time. We kind of see that in the playoffs as well too. So they struggle from that aspect of their linebackers and coverage. That'd be something that I would probably take advantage of too at this point. So I think this is a big D-Hop and Trav game again. And then I think you'll have some chances with their safety play as well to kind of take some shots to Xavier, and you got to hit him. You got to, at this point of the year, you got to start hitting on some of those deep shots down there to really, give these teams, especially further on in your schedule, something to really think about and be concerned about. Otherwise, I think people are going to kind of start playing you in the same way where, they just stack the box and tell you, we'll just wait until you do actually beat us down the field. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that specifically what the Broncos were able to do was crash kind of in between the tackles and make it incredibly difficult to make sure to take away the run game. And, we talk about specifically Isaiah Pacheco had his practice window also opened up as well. I don't expect him to play in this game. But if you're not going to be able to consistently run the ball in between tackles, then it's going to be incredibly difficult. I think that the Chiefs are still going to be in a good position to do so versus the Bills. And again, you got to be able to attack that zone coverage again with DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, and, hopefully you get Juju back as well. Hit you 1 to 2 shots over the top to Xavier Worthy. I think if they emphasized it a little bit more, that would help. But of course, Patrick Mahomes simply has to take advantage in those moments too. This is a game in which the Bills have been a solid defense, not a crazy defense. They're actually better against the run than the air versus the pass as well. They've been middle of the pack as far as late downs, third and fourth downs to keep getting guys off the field too. So I think there's an opportunity still to sustain those drives. And then it's just about, hey, are you going to finish in the red zone and specifically finish in the end zone in the red zone, not just settling for 3. That's going to be the difference in the game, in my opinion, as far as the offense is concerned. If you can create some explosive over the top, that'd be great. I think you should be able to sustain enough drives to win this game. It's just about being able to make them touchdowns instead of field goals at the end of the day as well. On the other side of the ball, as far as the Chiefs defense versus the Bills offense, I think there's a much more difficult matchup coming up here. If you're not going to attack what is a good Bills offensive line with your front four, that means that you're going to have to, leave some guys on islands versus some good, obviously, weapons for the Bills. Like you mentioned, obviously, Keenan Coleman not going to play. Seems like, that'll be more Matt Collins snaps in general. Amari Cooper is going to be on the mend. Kalusha Gears had a really good season as well. One of the guys that I really like coming out of the draft, and he's developed into a nice player for them. We saw him catch a touchdown versus Trent McDuffie in the playoffs last year as well, or L'Jarius Sneed, I should say, in the playoffs last year when they matched up in Orchard Park too. We'll see about Dalton Kincaid sustain that injury last week. We'll see if he's actually back to play in this game. So a lot of things that go into it. They run the ball very well. We know the threat that Josh Allen brings to the table, both with his arms and his legs. James Cook having a good season so far. Ray Davis is a solid backup running back as well. DG and CJ, how do you guys feel about this Chiefs defense ability to slow down what is a good Bills offense?
I feel a lot better if they don't have Keon Coleman and Mark Cooper. Yeah.
Well, Keon's not to go. That's a good thing so far.
Yeah. And especially I'll feel a lot better if Dalton Kincaid isn't out there as well either.
From what I heard from some of their fans, I think they're pretty confident Amari Cooper doesn't play. They're more so they more so iffy about Kincaid, but they're pretty sure Cooper's probably not going to play. So
without those guys, I think it kind of can help this defense a little bit as far as what they can do on the back end. Not have to be worried about. Maybe you can allocate more pressure up front to kind of get Josh Allen on the ground. But as we all know, that's a easier said done task. I think the main thing is going to be, at this point, keeping Josh Allen in the pocket and allowing him to try to beat you with his arm, make them drive the length of the field, see if they can do it, and hopefully you force them into a couple of mistakes at this point. Josh Allen is, to me, he's the probably outside of Patrick Mahomes, I think he's the hardest quarterback to game plan for. He's such a force as far as what he can do with his legs. Not only, can he get out the pocket and extend plays, but he can also be a dynamite factor for them in the run game as well, too, and wearing a defense down a lot. We've seen that, in the playoff game last year. There were some plays where he just, was able to move the chains for them just because he's that much of a force. It's almost like them pretty much having a 6'5", 6'6" running back there at points in time. So you have to be ready to come up and make a hit, make a tackle. And that's something that I think I spoke to earlier in this year, is that this Chiefs team, especially this defense this year, one thing I can count on them to do is tackle and open space, and make nice form tackles. So you can't go up here slacking on that, especially against the quarterback of this caliber. So if I'm Spags and my game plan going into this is just trying to keep him in the pocket, make him try to beat you with his arm. Hopefully you force him into some throws and some tighter windows that he doesn't like, especially with some of his main targets being out, and telling one of those other guys besides Khalil Shakir to beat you at this point. So James Cook too is a dynamite running back as well too. Got to be able to take care and handle him as well. But we've been very good in the run game as far as stopping running backs and things of that nature at this point. So I think as long as they can contain that beast in 17, I think they can be able to walk out of here with a dub in a clean game.
I expect them to give a lot of time. There's definitely some props that I like in this game from a betting standpoint. James Cook and Ray Davis get a lot of touches because they don't have their receivers. They're just not they're gonna let Josh Allen throw the football. But I think Joe Brady's a smart enough OC, like I think he is. He's not gonna depend on Josh Allen to give him that many attempts, because I think his average attempts the last couple of weeks has been around the 30s, maybe high 20s. They don't want him throwing the ball that much. Obviously, Pat is comfortable throwing the ball 40 times, even more so if we have Juju available this week. But I expect them to run the football more, like DG said. So a lot of James Cook, a lot of Ray Davis, a lot of QB designs for Josh himself. They're going to try to get him involved, because when it's 11-on-11 football, it's just harder to tackle a guy when you got 10 other people blocking for him, and he's already a crazy athlete. So the biggest thing for us is just stop the run. I think we're the best run defense in the league this year. I think we've proven that up to this point. We haven't let anyone get off on us outside of Lamar Jackson. So outside of like Josh Allen getting off on us scrambling, and I think that's a thing on contain, like DG said. So when you're rushing this week, you're not rushing to sack. You're rushing to contain. You're not going to sack Josh Allen too often. If not, maybe a couple of times. Your job is just keep him in the pocket, Don't let him extend plays too much and try to plaster him. Keep him in there and force him into a mistake where you have to rush a throw, rush a decision, and maybe we can get an interception off of him like the Colts did last week. I think they got 2 off of him last week. So we can do that and be more sticky on coverage. I think that bodes well for us, especially even more so with knowing Amari Cooper and or no Keon Coleman on the field with them if Dalton Kincaid is out as well. So that's the biggest key for us, stopping the run like we've done all year, force Josh into some mistakes. And I feel like if you're looking at the Bills, they'll probably tell us, if they're looking at us in the mirror, they probably say the same thing. So, but just keep James Cook and Ray Davis under control, get a turnover or 2, finish points off that turnover that you possibly get, and then figure out a way to win the football game and make Josh uncomfortable and get his pass attempts in the high 30s, maybe 40s. And I think that's a recipe for us to win the game.
Yeah, and to your point is you got to make sure that you present those situations in which Josh Allen is not comfortable in the pocket, because if he is, then things are not necessarily going to go well for you. The same way that we had talked about how I felt like Bo Nix was comfortable operating in the system outside of the few times in which Spags was able to kind of roll the dice with some coverage 0 looks. You have to be able to get him uncomfortable back there. You can't make it a lot easier on him to continue to attack you through the air, because otherwise Josh Allen is going to kill you. He just is. He's too talented of a quarterback, and they have too much talent around him at this current moment in time as well. I did want to look at kind of what those interceptions look like. And this is a 1st and 10, little play action. Josh Allen, just trying to get a little bit. This is actually somebody tweeted out, this is the most 2018 Josh Allen interception we've seen in a while.
Oh, Josh.
And it's just kind of one of those robber situations where they catch a guy looking underneath, and Josh Allen's trying to fit it to the corner at the bottom on a levels concept.
The whole time.
It's just not there.
A little too greedy.
He got greedy. That underneath defender was there the whole time. He tried to get an up and down ball. He didn't get it up.
So. Yeah, no, he just loved it short and was able to intercept it as well. And being able to keep robbers kind of in that intermediate portion is the difference in, hey, can we get there with 4, or are we going to have to send extra guys or not? And here, there's a little bit of pressure created, and they were comfortable kind of on the early downs being able to do so. But you got to have extra guys in coverage versus this really good weapon core that the Bills are going to be able to present. I thought DG was going to jump in there for a second. But this is the second one, also another play action where
Kenny Moore
on the roll, and this is a great play by Kenny Moore. It's a spectacular play.
Sniff
out the guy kind of laying out there in the flat. And the one thing I did want to picture, because again, great play by Kenny Moore, but Josh Allen just, on the run trying to get it out there to the flat, doesn't get out there in time. But look at 23. He's not looking back in the backfield for the ball. He knows what his assignment is. He's just going out there sniffing out. And then he obviously is in position to make that play. So spectacular job by Kenny Moore. And to you guys' point earlier, if there are situations in which Keon Coleman's not out there, Amari Cooper maybe is limited, you're going to see more of Curtis Samuel and more of Matt Collins, which limits how much of a potent offense that they can be. And we have to take advantage of those situations, obviously, with us down Jalen Watson as well. Defensive line bringing a much better effort versus this Bills offensive line is going to be massive to not allow them to kind of get run all over in general, which they did versus the Broncos, but more specifically, be able to get after Josh Allen as well on those passing downs, because it's going to be massive. They're going to use those 6 offensive linemen. They're going to use multiple tight ends, even if it's maybe not Kincaid, they'll still find a way to get to those multiple tight end sets. Going to put Gilliam out there and get multiple backs out there as well with Ray Davis and James Cook. They're going to try and come at you with a multitude of different weapons and attacks, and that's all led obviously with Josh Allen and his ability too. So this is a really good offense. They've played like a really good offense the entirety of the season. They pretty much kind of have advantages across the board as far as you look at like the advanced stats as far as that's concerned. But the one thing the Chiefs have always done really well this season is stop the run. If you make them one-dimensional, then you certainly have a chance to get off the field. So with that being said, the one thing that, again, just wanted to reiterate, obviously, Charles Omenihu, Isaiah Pacheco's practice runs have been open. We'll see about Juju later on in the week as he continues to progress. Wouldn't expect Pacheco or Omenihu to play. There's going to be a ramping up period from their practice aspects that probably will not allow them to play versus the Bills, but we'll continue to monitor that as well. And hopefully we'll have Juju back to go against that Bills zone. But all that being said, we can talk about specifically the X factor and game predictions from you guys' perspective. If either one of you guys wants to lead this off.
X factor for me will be, it's probably tough. It's like whoever's spying Josh Allen, because obviously he's going to take off regardless. So Leo Chenal or Drew Tranquil, whoever they decide, it'll probably be more Drew Tranquil. And obviously, he had a bad game this past week, so I expect him to bounce back. So he's my X factor for sure. And my prediction on the show, I said 24-23 Chiefs. Harrison Butker walk-off. They know that all too well. They said it should be clear weather, no like snow or rain or anything. So it should be a clear, good football day. So
X factor for me. I think the X factor would be DeAndre Hopkins. I think this is a favorable matchup for him. Not seeing Patrick Surtain for the second week in a row. I think it'll be nice to see. I think is Rasul Douglas and Tyron Johnson. Not sure who the other corner is as well either. But seeing them, I know it's gonna be a lot better than seeing PS2 over there. And I still don't think he had a bad game against PS2 as well. But I think this is a game where he can help keep this offense on schedule a little bit better this week. Just with how he'll be able to run some of his routes this week and getting open. Don't think that this is the same kind of matchup you're facing in the Denver Broncos team. So I look for him to at least have a decent game against this secondary. Score prediction. No, I'm gonna say Chiefs 26, Bills 21. I do think it's a close game. I do think it comes down probably to the end. Maybe one of those things where might need to have the ball last or whatever. But I think as long as they can contain Josh Allen in certain aspects, keep him from running all around the field in extended plays, I don't see there not being a reason why they can't go up there and be 10-0 walking out of Buffalo.
1C locked up, baby.
Yeah, to your point, this is a massive game in the AFC standings. Obviously we've seen the Ravens lose a few games, so they've got an advantage there, and obviously have the tiebreaker as well. Texans have dropped a few games there, specifically to the Lions, so there's separation there. Obviously the Steelers still sitting out there with 2 losses after they win against the Commanders. We'll discuss that a little bit in the power ranking segment. It's going to be interesting to see, obviously, Steelers down the line as far as the Chiefs to get some separation versus them. But this is a massive game, probably the most important game in the AFC to this point in the season. I'm fascinated. And this is also a really good week because it starts out with the Ravens and Steelers on Thursday too. I am fascinated to see. Or is it Commanders Eagles on Thursday, or is it Ravens?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's Commanders Eagles on Thursday, and then Steelers Ravens is on Sunday. My apologies. It's going to be a massive game for the AFC standings. X factor for me, I think the Bills are going to put up some points. To be honest with you, it's going to be reflected in my prediction. So I'm going to flip the other side. I think that they have to find a way to get Xavier Worthy explosive plays. They got to connect on these things. They cannot continue to live and die by this hyper efficient offense. They have to create some type of explosives over the top, and Mahomes has to hit these shots. So Xavier really has to have a good day, and it doesn't have to be some type of massive target share. It just has to be 1 or 2 of those things actually going his way, in which he catches the ball down the field and creates some space as well. So that's my X factor. I think that DeAndre Hopkins can have a good game. I think that Kelsey will have a good game. I think that if Juju's back, he also have a good game. The Bills, kind of zone coverage leaves some stuff that you can attack as long as you block it up well. This is a good Bills defensive line, but I expect that the Chiefs offensive line will come with a much better effort as well. And they should be able to run the ball better than they did versus the Broncos, but we'll see. There may be some limitations to that as well, because we've seen how much of a toll this has taken on Kareem Hunt, the insane workload that they put on him. But I'll probably be on an island here. I'm going to pick the Bills to win 31-27. I think it's one of those things where they're playing maybe a little bit better on the offensive side of the ball than the Chiefs are. I think they're in position to be able to win a shootout here and put some points on the board versus the Chiefs. And maybe I'm going to end up looking dumb for picking this to be the first time the Chiefs give up more than 28 points. I think in however many games it's been at this point
since the Philly Super Bowl, a long time.
Yep, it's been a long time as well. But I do think that the Bills' offense is really good. I do think that Amari Cooper is probably going to find a way to play. Maybe not Kincaid, but I think Cooper will find a way to play as well. DJ, you're on mute if you're talking.
I picked us to lose last week as well too in Sports After Dark. So hey, eventually, I agree with D-Man. Like eventually, they're gonna lose a game.
I've said this. I've said this every time that it's. I've said this every time it comes up, and I said that before. If you guys get out of Orchard Park and you win the game, then I'll hear about undefeated talk. Until then, I'm not going to. Before the season, I had this, and I had the 49ers pegged as losses as far as to this point in the season. I thought we win every other game. They obviously went out and won the 49ers game that I picked against them. I hope that they go out and win this game that I picked against them here. But I do think it's one of those situations in which this game, in my opinion, will mean a little bit more to the Bills and keeping their 1 seed hopes alive than it's necessarily going to mean to the Chiefs and just trying to extend that dominance as well. And even though the Chiefs would still leave Orchard Park if they lost in a good position for the 1 seed, it does make that race actually real for the back half of the season, where you can really put it on ice if you're able to create that extra separation, which would essentially be 4 games because you have the tiebreaker over the Bills. And then it's just you win the Steelers really for that last seed from that standpoint, pending what happens on Sunday. So I think the Bills go out there and get a regular season win. And look, it is what it is. They have a good job of beating us in the regular season. And the thing that matters is the fact that they can't find a way to beat us in January even so. So that's kind of my read on it. And I'm looking forward to the game because we had a really good slate as well. Looking forward to this season. Not to the season, to the entirety of Sunday, I should say. So as far as the power rankings are concerned, obviously we had an incredible Lions comeback on Sunday Night Football, needing a game-winning field goal to end off that game after Jared Goff had thrown 5 interceptions, which, that's crazy. Bills handle business versus the Colts. I don't know. Do you guys want to put the Bills over the Lions? Or you want to leave them at 3? I'm cool with either way.
Lions look like trash. I'm gonna knock them down a little bit.
Okay, you're gonna put the Bills too.
Yeah, I'll base it just off of Jared Goff's performance alone. 5 hits, you can't throw.
You won, but 5 picks, you can't do that, bro. You
in the game, and the fact that you still won, you should really be, counting your lucky stars.
Y'all should have got y'all teeth kicked in for real, but you won, so
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ravens 4, Commanders 5. I think the Ravens can stay at 4. Obviously, they were able to get the win on Thursday night versus the Bengals. I think that's cool with them. Commanders did lose to the Steelers, who were at number 7. Eagles at number 6. They kind of, handled business. I'll say it wasn't an incredibly overpowering win, but they did handle business as well. I'm cool with swapping the Steelers and Commanders, making the Steelers 5 and the Eagles 6 and the Commanders 7. Given how they were able to perform too. I think that's probably fair.
I agree.
We also did have the Falcons 8, which this is what we get for giving the Falcons praise. How do you go out there and lose that game to the damn Saints? How do you?
No Olave is disgusting, bro. Y'all let MVS off the couch. Not off the couch because he's been playing. He just got there like Tuesday when he got traded, or like the previous week. You let him catch 3 catches, not only for 100 yards, you let him get in the end zone twice.
Boy, it was Randy Moss.
How does that happen? I know the Falcons secondary.
He turned into Randy Moss for a name, boy.
Bro, if all it took was that, then we should. I don't get it. I know Jesse Bates is one of the best safeties in the league. I got respect for AJ Terrell. I think he's vastly underrated as far as corners. I think he gets enough credit deserved. But when you do stuff like this, like DMac said, when I start giving y'all credit, y'all make me look dumb. You know how many texts I got, DG? They like, bro, who is this nigga that y'all cut? I'm like, bro, I don't know who this is. This looks like playoff NBA. This the guy in January.
It did look like playoff
NBA. He don't play like this.
I looked up and I was like, he got 2 touchdowns and
DMac, my phone was blowing up. You would have thought the Chiefs won the game. They texted me, "Hey, bro, what MVS doing?" I'm like, "MVS, what are y'all talking about? He playing today?" I didn't know he was even active, DG. I didn't know he was even on the roster.
I didn't know they called him up either. I didn't know they called him up either.
I didn't know he get any snaps or anything. I looked at his line before the game started. It was like at 24 and a half for his yards.
I didn't know he was even active. That's why I was shocked.
Yeah. I was like, let me just stay away from him because
Hollywood hit me.
He could probably get down one play if he does play, and lo and behold,
deep over like he did with us. Deep over, touchdown, deep over. I'm like, bro, the Falcons trash. Y'all let MVS go off on y'all. Ain't no way, bro.
Insane.
He's the only respectable weapon on the no Rashid Shaheed, no Olave. He's the only respectable deep threat they have on that team, and you let him get behind you. I couldn't believe it.
It was
nasty work.
Yeah, knock the Falcons down. I don't care. Knock the Falcons down. They trash.
No, they at the top 10. Yeah, you're not staying in the top 10 after losing to the Saints, man. No. I will also say, so I'm moving Chargers up to 8. I'm taking the Vikings out because they looked awful versus Mac Jones and the Jaguars.
Bro, you being nice. You look trash.
12-7 to that secondary.
He threw 3 interceptions in the red zone.
Yeah,
every
Sam
time in the red
Darnold.
zone, pick. I'm like, Darnold, what are you doing?
And that's one of the worst secondaries in the league this year.
The Jaguars are awful.
The Jaguars have been god awful.
They've been getting cooked by everybody. Drake May cooked that secondary,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Darnold really was struggling to move the football, and Justin Jefferson was out there mad as hell.
12-7. Sheesh.
Every time they was in the red zone like 4 times.
That was an exciting game to go to.
Bro, imagine paying tickets for that. My goodness. I'm asking for a refund. Even if my team won, I want a refund.
That was disgusting. Yeah. So I moved the Chargers up to 8. Handle business. Who they play? Titans?
Titans at the crib.
Titans, yeah. Handle business. Playing really good football on both sides of the ball, and Justin Herbert's playing well too. I want to give the gold star to the Cardinals, who I'm going to put at 9. Leading the NFC West, able to go out there once again and get another victory. Kyler Murray's playing, best quarterback play of his career to this point. And they end up smacking around the Jets, who, that's a dead team right there, who fired Robert Saleh just to, for vibes, I suppose, because it ain't helped the team one bit.
Y'all still losing with or without him. So
man, Devontae Adams he's a loyal man. Dog.
Hey, he want to lose with the homies, bro. You feel me? He want to lose with the
bros. No way. We're honored in New York to lose with the homies.
If I'm gonna get smacked up, at least get smacked up with the bros. You know what I'm saying? If I'm lose,
you could have stayed. You could have stayed in Vegas for that, big.
All that you stayed in Vegas.
He want to be around the bros. I respect you for that, Devontae. Want to be around my
team. I will tell you guys
I'm gonna lose.
Well.
Nah, I'm saying
if I'm gonna lose, it might as well look like this.
Be with the bros. What y'all doing after the game?
New York versus Vegas. I will say this: it's not going to be as bad. Look back on as the Deshaun Watson trade. It's not going to be looked back as bad as maybe the Russell Wilson to the Broncos trade because the draft capital wasn't as steep. But this whole Aaron Rodgers experiment for the Jets, this has gone about as poorly as you can expect, and I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon. So, good luck. That's all I can say. For the 10th spot, I mean, there are a few teams. I think Packers and Niners would be the top 2 that kind of come to mind as far as that's concerned. Do you guys have a preference between those 2 that you want to give a shout out that deserve the last spot in the power rankings this week?
I'll probably say Niners for me. I still think even though through some of the injuries and things of that nature, I do think they're a team that as they get healthier, as the season kind of goes along, getting McCaffrey back, I do think they're a team that can probably potentially get hot and rattle off some games here. I'll say it solely. Brock Purdy had a throw on Sunday. It was
George Ball. Ooh.
Yeah, it's not a lot of.
It was
not
sick.
a lot of guys, it's kind of getting to that point. Like, it's not a lot of guys that can make that throw. Not saying that Brock Purdy is top 10 quarterback or anything of that nature at this point.
That's a top 10 throw though.
That definitely is starting to show that it may be more of him than some of the weapons around him sometimes in plays. But
he's made some really good plays this year. He's been able to keep them afloat even as they've missed weapons. I had guys in and out of the lineup. Jawan Jennings playing really good football for them too. I think I still have some
for them.
Yeah, I'm still having some question marks as far as their defense is concerned. And that's ultimately why I think the Cardinals are a legitimate threat to take that division off of them. But, and the Niners, and what Brock Purdy's put together, you got to tip your cap to Brock at the quarterback position to this point in the season as well. So that's going to be the Week 10 power rankings. I will also end it off here. Obviously, tell the truth trifecta. Did miss out. Chris Jones wasn't able to get a sack. DeAndre Hopkins, I think, came up with four catches.
One more.
It was trash.
We were.
I hit on Bo Nix.
Bo Nix did end up hitting. I think when he had 230 yards, 215.
He got over.
Yeah, just snuck over for that 215. Make sure you just stick over that. There you go. Make sure you guys stay locked in. We will be coming out with our Tell the Truth trifecta for Bills versus Chiefs coming up on Sunday morning. We'll always post that as well. We'll also be posting, obviously, the Week 10 power rankings this week. Probably coming out tomorrow. So anything else you guys want to get into before we go ahead and get on out of here?
No, sir.
Nope.
Go to Orchard Park and get a dub, gang. Come back 10-0.
Yes, sir.
See if we can go 10-0.
10-0, baby.
Look, this is going to be a lot of fun. Go ahead, DJ.
We had a question before we got out.
Oh yeah, we definitely could talk about that. This came along from Nate Taylor talking on Cody Girl earlier on 96 the Fan, discussing as far as Donovan Smith being within game shape, and then also being one call away from the Chiefs should there be an issue. I think it's perfectly fine. I think that he can provide good depth, probably better depth right now at the left tackle position than Kingsley can. So I'd be okay with it if they want to bring him back, but I would not be bringing him back to be a starter because I don't think that you're going to get better level of play than you've gotten from Wanya Morris at this point in the season. How do you guys feel about it?
Yeah, I feel the same. I think he's a serviceable tackle, especially for some certain period of games if you need to be. But as far as people looking back on last year, it wasn't all that great either.
Wasn't that big a difference, bro?
It's not that much of a difference. I think Wanya Morris, more reps that he gets if he can stay healthy, can really help this team, especially down the stretch. But I do think it probably would be emphasis to bring him back as far as the depth purposes, and being able to have a guy in the building that probably can help Kingsley, mature a little bit, help him with some of his techniques, stuff like that. Guys done it at a really high level at points and times in his career. So wouldn't mind them bringing Donovan Smith back. I pray. I know people are saying he's in football shape, but I pray he's healthy.
He ain't played football all year. That boy ain't in football shape.
Yeah, he hasn't played much football up until this year, so I'm not. If they do bring him back, I'm not expecting much. I don't expect them to just thrust him back into the starting lineup and things just go well from there. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind him being back, but at this point in time, I just don't think you're getting any better production than you're already getting right now.
Yeah, same thing. I love it for depth purposes only. From a talent standpoint, Wanya is younger, faster. He had more snaps. He's in football shape now. So you're not going to just drop Donovan Smith and expect him just to go out there and just play better. I don't think people realize how hard football is to get ready for. You don't just drop out of the sky and just start playing football magically with no training camp. He hasn't touched a pair of pads since the Super Bowl. He had offseason surgery for a reason. Now, I'm glad to hear he's healthy. I think that was kind of like the biggest question mark in the offseason. Like, was he healthy and was he ready to go? So Nate Taylor got the scoop for us, and he is ready to come back if need be. But I think he's a guy you bring back after, let's see, we have Buffalo, Carolina, then the Raiders. So if I do bring him back, it'll probably be for that after that Raiders game because it's on Black Friday. So you probably get a little bit of like a mini break. And then you got the Chargers. So we do play 3 games in December, which sucks. So if there is a month I would want him to be here, maybe you bring him in the building after that Raiders week. Maybe get him in here and get him ready as like an emergency break the glass scenario. I'm still starting Wanya every week for me. Before the season, I picked him to be the starter just because he knows the playbook better. And I didn't know if Kings was going to be ready to pick it up as fast. And I think that's kind of showing now. So I would bring Donovan in as a backup because in case like things start to happen as far as injury wise. So I don't think we're going to see Kingsley again unless things get really bad. And I don't think they want things to get that bad again. So I would bring Donovan back for depth purposes, but not to start. I would still keep Wanye as the starting tackle for sure.
Go ahead.
I was saying I would also caution Chiefs Kingdom at this point. Like, one of these guys has to develop, man, and they only gonna do that through reps.
You ain't doing it on the bench.
You can't do that much sitting on the bench. I know people get frustrated with sometimes how Wanye plays, and then seeing Kingsley kind of go out there and seeing what he was able to do. But those live reps being everything, that game honestly will teach Kingsley a lot more than he'll be able to ever learn on the bench at this point in his career. So although the reps weren't great, I do appreciate them getting him in there and getting him some live game reps as well. I think his confidence right now is a little bit shot from being benched in week 2, not playing well that week as well either. But at this point in time, if people want to figure out the tackle position, you got to let them play. And that's just what it is at this point. So.
And thankfully, like I said, after this Bills game, and even the Bills don't have that much of an elite pass rush, Ed Oliver, who's the one I probably respect the most in that D-line, he's been getting pushed around a lot. He's super athletic. He gets off the ball, but he hasn't stopped the run very well from what I've seen on tape from him. He hasn't been the most explosive player like I've seen him in years past when he had one of his best career years a couple of seasons ago. So up front, nobody in their D-line is really playing at that much of a high level to me. So I think this should be a bounce back week for Wanye. And like I said, the following weeks we played the Panthers, we played the Raiders. 2 very underwhelming pass rush teams overall from a front seven standpoint. So I think from our offensive line pressure, I think they get a little bit of an easier matchup the next 2-3 weeks to get these guys in shape, to get their mentals right, to get them rolling, to get them focused and locked in. So by the time we get to the home stretch of our season, which is that Denver lineup or December lineup, which is obviously the Chargers at home, we got to go on the road to Cleveland, and then we have the Houston Texans at home. That 3-game stretch is the one where I think we lose a game. I think we beat Buffalo just because you don't have Keon Coleman. Amari Cooper is more than likely probably not going to play. Kincaid, I think, is the one that does play. And if he does, he's not going to be 100%. Putting Josh Allen out there with not that many weapons against this team that can stop the run better than the team they've seen in the past, I think that's a recipe for us to win, especially how well we run the football now. So I think that December stretch is more important than – this game is obviously important this week, but that December stretch is crazy because more so just because it's more concern for injury. You're playing too many games too close together. So and they're right before the playoffs, which I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of, but that's the reason I would want to see Donovan come back for that stretch for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely understand where you're coming from. I think I'd probably go the other way in this sense that I agree with you wholeheartedly. I would not be bringing him back right now to try and start him. Like, that's just an unrealistic scenario. But if you're going to bring him back, I think you should bring him back immediately. Don't waste time with it. Bring him back, and I don't know if he would accept it, but get him in the building and put him on practice squad, and then you can sign him off practice squad when you're ready to do so. And just continue to get him bike. Get him ramped up, ready to in the shape of a weekly practice from that standpoint. If you can fit him on the active roster, that's fine as well. I'm not saying to go against it, but just from the standpoint of, hey, we're going to get you ramped up. We're also going to tell Kingsley Suamataia, look, we know it's not necessarily been great this year. We're going to put you on ice. This is just going to be an understandable. We know who the left tackle is. Continue to focus on what we're telling you development-wise each and every week, and then we'll, just understand that this is a redshirt year as well. Put both of those things to bed. Continue to get him ready for it. Bring him in earlier rather than later, in my opinion. There's also a quirk as far as veterans and accruing a season as well that I think this week is the last week to sign him, so maybe that'll be an extra motivation. There are also roster things that have to go into it because obviously they're expecting to bring back Pacheco, expecting to bring back Omenihu. They obviously have the CEH thing, which is out there as well, which if you haven't seen the interview that he did on the pivot, please do check it out because it was great as well. And then, we'll see how things happen as far as the roster is concerned. But I agree with you, CJ, having that depth in place specifically for the stretch that is coming up in December in which those games are condensed is very important for me. So I would rather them get ramped up sooner rather than later and be ready to step in at a moment's notice if necessary as well. particularly for this matchup, look, Rousseau has been really good this year. I mean, he's got 20 quick quarterback pressures according to the NFL. And Vanessa has been able to create some pressure off the edge. We know what Ed Oliver brings to the table, too. So they got a good defensive line, nothing that necessarily stands out and scares you. But again, you want to make sure that Wanya Morris has the proper help on that left side of the line as well. And this offensive line can continue to keep Patrick Mahomes upright and healthy, and so that he can perform at the highest level and hopefully hit on those shots that he ended up missing. It was upset at himself about missing coming out of Sunday's game too. I think all that being said, that's all you got to get to, man. I think we're good to go ahead and call it an episode. We appreciate everybody for coming by. Once again, make sure that you check out Kingdom Cast on Thursdays, air at AM PM, where DG will be out here on tomorrow evening as well. Tell the Truth Trifecta will be coming out on Sunday morning before the game. Make sure you guys check that out for all of your bets as well. For DG and CJ, yours truly, DMac, man. Peace out. Go Chiefs.
Chiefs.